Good evening, everyone. Let me know if you're joining me here this evening on this beautiful evening. The calm before the storm, literally. We have a cyclone on the radar. But luckily I'm several hours south of where that's going to hit. But anyway, let's get this in. It's really eerie and still out there right now. Welcome to all the new members. I'm very warm welcome from myself, Shell and Leanne, who are part of my team. And yeah, we're here to help each other. All ships rise with the incoming tide, as they say. And information is knowledge. You know, when you have that information through knowledge and education, you can really start to drill down into your own symptom picture and start to piece the puzzle together to really figure out where you need to look for your thyroid healing. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there and it's quite an elusive area. And I love working in this area because you can have a thyroid condition or not have a thyroid condition and have exactly the same symptoms, which is why we really need a comprehensive approach. And which is also why I'm doing this live training tonight about the warning signs that you shouldn't ignore. Hey Sharon, nice to see you here, and how fantastic. I can see the comments coming through. I don't think I need my phone right now. Let's just see if this continues. Alrighty, so without any further ado, let me just, I've got some notes. I always like to have my notes. Fantastic. Okay, so here are the key points that we're going to cover in tonight's live training. So the key signs and symptoms that your thyroid or something else is struggling. Because sometimes, you know, especially if we're diagnosed, we're taking medication and suddenly, you know, we're flattened out with fatigue, or we've got some hair fall, or, you know, we've got some bloating, brain fog, cold hands and feet, just really feeling blah. You know, often we think, oh, it's my thyroid. Oh, it's acting up, something's happening. But here's the thing, you know, like the symptoms mean so much more. And rather than pointing the finger at the thyroid, we actually drill down and understand what's actually going on in our body, because, you know, it's not about the diagnosis. It's about what's going on specifically for you and within those symptoms for you and how they connect. Really, really important to get your head around that. So we're going to be covering the common symptoms. I need to put my glasses on if I'm reading my notes. When it's not just your thyroid, so other conditions like adrenal dysfunction, gut imbalances, nutrient deficiencies, which all mimic thyroid issues and also can, you know, correlate with, you know, your thyroid imbalance and be kind of working in seemingly in isolation, but it's all connected. And then the importance of tracking your symptoms over time, because the symptoms, your symptoms often appear well and truly before a thyroid diagnosis. 100%, well and truly. Otherwise, you know, you would know, okay? Because you probably would have already have a diagnosis. So you can be suffering with some signs and symptoms that aren't too bad, a little bit problematic, but you kind of just, you know, not really paying too much attention. You know, you can be suffering for 10 years and then that's just gradually getting worse. And then we've got multiple system dysfunction occurring, and then you may get a diagnosis. Or you may have some other areas or symptoms or collections of symptoms which warrant a deep look in that specific system, even though there's an undercurrent of your thyroid being distressed. All right. So sometimes it's like chicken and egg. Which one comes first? There's always an underlying root cause or causes for multi-system dysfunction, which is why when you're tweaking the medication to mirror the pathology results, often the symptoms don't go away, because it's really the wrong approach, in my opinion. You know, we want to get beneath that and actually go upstream and see what's causing it in the first place. Okay. Alrighty. So, oh, hey, Kath. Lovely to see you here, Kath. Beautiful. And we got Kimberly. Fantastic. Yeah, beautiful. Come on in. Alrighty. And ask your questions along the way. And every time I click that, I lose my notes. All right, let's get back onto it. The other thing I'm going to cover tonight is I'm going to cover a case example of one of my beautiful current clients. Now, of course, I'm going to, it's all going to be anonymous, and let's just call this client Elsie. And I'm just going to talk about why, it's important to understand what's going on in many areas of your body as opposed to just directing all of your attention to your thyroid. And I'm going to break this case down so you're going to see the reasons why it's super important to be understanding what's going on underneath your thyroid condition. Okay. Alrighty. So let's get into it. Fantastic. We've got Anne Dorrington, Anne Marie Dorrington. Fantastic. Oh, Shell's actually letting her know. Beautiful. Thanks, Shell. Appreciate that. Alrighty. So, the connections between your thyroid, stress, weight, digestion, and hormonal health. Okay, so firstly, like that's just a lot, isn't it? Like your poor thyroid, like look at all the things that we've got to deal with, and sometimes it can be really overwhelming. But it doesn't need to be overwhelming because we break it down, and at the end of the day, your body is on your side. It always is on your side. So when you know that your body is working with you and you're working with it and you kind of partner up and really form a deep relationship rather than, oh, my damn thyroid, telling it off, like that's not going to do you any good. So we want to be on the side of our body because our body is on the side of us. And my beautiful clients watching tonight will know exactly what I'm talking about because we do a lot of deep work in this area. Okay, so the thyroid stress link. So chronic stress, who is not stressed? Or just give me an example of whether you believe your thyroid condition gets worse when you're stressed. Just drop it in the comments if this resonates. Just type stress. I'd love to know because there's such a common link between stress and your thyroid. Such a common link. And the very good reason for that is because our cortisol actually does two things. Well, it does many things. It keeps us alive. So we want cortisol, but we want a healthy level of cortisol. We don't want, adrenal burnout, exhaustion. And we don't want no cortisol where our adrenals are puffed out and there's nothing else to give. We don't want that either. That's going to really be recruiting the thyroid to do all the work if the adrenals are puffed out. So we want cortisol, but too much cortisol in that alert phase, it circuit breaks your T4 conversion to T3. So it literally cuts off your T4, which is your thyroxine, conversion to your more metabolically active hormone T3. It circuit breaks that. Why? Because you've got high cortisol. So there's a fight-flight response, there's a stress response. So your body is actually trying to slow you down. It does not want you to have more metabolically active, fast metabolizing hormone through your body. It's trying to calm you down. So it's already trying to, okay, there's something going on. Let's just shut this system down, So it's when it becomes a chronic picture and then that conversion is shut down every single day. That's when you start to feel the effects of all of the symptoms that are mirrored from a thyroid condition, particularly Hashimoto's I'm talking about with this particular example, or hypothyroidism, such as sluggish digestion and bloating, such as, hormonal issues, actually that's very, very broad. So digestive issues, you might have constipation because it's like slowing things down. You might have poor liver detoxification because it's slowing things down. So just think slow. so your nutrients aren't being absorbed very well. So that's why gut is really, really important when we're looking at thyroid conditions. And then we look at the level of inflammation for thyroid autoimmunity. But that's a different area. I'm going to be talking about that in a minute. Okay. But stress. So stress, it circuit breaks that T4 conversion to T3. So this is why we get foggy thinking when we're stressed. Who here has experienced brain fog when you're stressed? It's almost like it all shuts down, doesn't it? It's like suddenly your head is in a bucket of sand, okay? Because everything's fuzzy because there's a lot of stress and your system is literally trying to close you down because of that stress. Let me just see what's in the comments. Yeah, absolutely, Marla. Yeah, always, Sophia. Sophia. Sue, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it totally makes sense, doesn't it? Okay. Okay, what's going on here? Now, am I still live? Something is happening like what happened the other day. Connect streaming software. Okay. This happened the other day. Have I clicked on something? All right. Am I still live? Hey, everyone. Okay. Just suddenly clicked off. Yes, I'm live. Okay. I don't know what happened then. It just went blank screen. Apologies there. Let me just get back onto this. Alrighty, I'm not going to touch the screen. It's dangerous when I touch computers. Okay. All right, so let's move on. So high stress, it causes more fatigue, brain fog, weight retention, and hormonal imbalances. Gut involvement for chronic low-grade stress absolutely further exacerbates your thyroid condition. So this is why it's multi-system. It's not just a matter of we take a medication and we go gluten-free, dairy-free, which are the big hallmark things that is recommended. More about that later in another live training. I'm breaking that one down, busting those myths open. All right, but on to the task at hand. The thyroid stress link is huge, okay? So I would be very surprised if there was anybody in this group who has not suffered poor functioning thyroid or seemingly worsening signs and symptoms that mirror their thyroid condition with a stress event. And it could be that there's low chronic grade stress as well. All right, so let's move on to the other connection. So weight and metabolism. Well, if we think about our thyroid, like our T4 converting to T3, and our T3 is our more metabolically active hormone, this is what governs our metabolism. And often when we think of metabolism, we think of, our metabolism is high because we're hungry, or it's slow because, we don't want to eat. There are those obvious signs of a metabolic system, and you will know whether you're a slow or a fast type. But I'm also talking about your metabolism that we don't actually know. It's the autonomic system. What's happening on a cellular level? Because somebody can have a pathology report which shows, let's say, a fast thyroid. However, when we actually drill down and look at what's happening on a cellular level, it's actually a slow functioning thyroid. Because what happens is the pathology and what's happening on a cellular level isn't necessarily a perfect match at that time. There's a lag period, which is why sometimes you might be going to the GP and sometimes it's high. Next time you go, they tweak the medication, recommend it. If you're on medication, not everyone's on medication. Many people are dealing with their thyroid or, helping support their thyroid without medication. It could be subclinical. So whatever the case, it could be that it's swinging, it's bouncing around a little bit. And that's because there's a lag period between what's happening on a cellular level and what's actually happening in the pathology. So this is why I'm telling you it's really, really important to know what's happening on that cellular level so that you can really bring back to balance the minerals, that are actually governing and orchestrating these systems deep down below. Okay, such as looking at your magnesium, your calcium, your potassium, your sodium, your phosphorus. You know, where's your selenium at? Where's your molybdenum at, which is a sign of liver dysfunction, or, you know, dysfunction in the detoxification of your liver, how well it's performing, I should say. Sulfur is another one. You know, also there's chromium. You know, is that being called upon? Because there's actually a blood sugar issue, and that is also impacting your gut, which is causing inflammation, which is tipping over into your thyroid. Okay. Is there a sodium magnesium imbalance, which is a deep dive indicator of adrenal fatigue? And do we need to work on restoring harmony with your thyroid through the adrenals, with adaptogens, with adrenal tonics, if indicated? They're not always indicated. You know, you may have adrenal exhaustion, and, you know, an adrenal tonic is not indicated because there's no point in trying to, you know, recycle cortisol if there's nothing in the tank. We need to work higher up. We need to restore harmony to your nervous system before trying to whip the adrenals into action to produce the cortisol, because you've got adrenal fatigue and it's flattened and bottomed out. So there are many different scenarios. In fact, there are 4 stages of adrenal fatigue if we're working on that system. So if we don't know where to work exactly across those 4 stages, we could literally be, you know, like whipping the, you know, for want of a better word, whipping the poor adrenals when they really have nothing more to give, you know, or we could be just working in that wrong area. Sometimes we need more nervous system trophorestoratives, which is really bringing harmony back into your nervous system and helping with your stress response mechanism to improve your resilience, to help reduce the amplification of that cascade from the hypothalamus down to the adrenals, which is tipping on over into the thyroid. Okay, so can you see how stress, it's really important. It's not just, oh, I'm stressed. You know, we need to know what your stress picture looks like. What happens in your body when you're stressed? Is it a stress that you're aware of? Or maybe it's something that's happening that you're unaware of. For example, there might be a gut infection, or there might be some trauma that you're kind of just brushing under the carpet and not looking at, and you may not be aware of, but deep down, that's become your new norm. However, there is stress that's occurring in your body. So this is why everyone is so different, and understanding your clinical picture and what's actually going on for you is so, so important. Because otherwise we might be adopting a treatment plan which could be really good for somebody else, but it may not actually be the best plan for you. Which is why I sometimes get a little frustrated when I see blanket comments put out on, you know, in different channels and on Google, which basically says, yes, you know, if you've got high autoantibodies, we all need selenium. It's a dangerous area. It's a dangerous area. And just on that particular example, selenium has a very narrow therapeutic range. Too high can cause toxicity in the body. Too low can be causing a lot of stress in the body. So we want to get it just right. And if we're thinking, oh, I've got to bring down these autoantibodies, I better take selenium, and you've just been taking that for the last 5 years, you may actually be doing yourself a gross disservice without realizing. Same thing with iodine. It's the Goldilocks mineral. It's called the Goldilocks mineral, iodine is, because You know, too much of a good thing isn't actually such a good thing, but we do need some. Yeah. Anyway, I hope this makes sense. Let me just ask you. Let me just ask you, like how many, let me just put it this way. How long have you noticed the symptoms in your thyroid? Like how long has it been? Is it a few months ago? Is it a few years ago, or is it longer? You know, like how long is it since, like whether or not this is really irrespective of when you've actually been diagnosed, if you've got a diagnosis, a formal diagnosis, but when have you really drilled down and think, okay, so since I've really been experiencing these symptoms 2 months ago, or it could be 6 months ago, or it could be 10 months ago, just drop it in the comments what it is for you. Because the thing is this is really important, because as you start to map out your timeline, that's when you can start to really pull those pieces together. Because, you know, like if you're just thinking, oh yeah, it was, I don't know, last year sometime, that's one scenario. But if you know specifically when it was, or like what month, then you could actually think, oh, what happened? What happened last October? Oh, that's right. That's right. And then it could be X, Y, Z. There was a flood in the home. That's right. That's right. I lost my job. Or, oh, that's right. I was bullied at work. You know, like it can be really interesting for you to do that for yourselves. So I'd love to know. Let's just see who's nearly 30 years ago. Wow, Sophia. So, you know, what I'd love to ask you, Sophia, is like, how old are you now? You don't need to answer in the comments, but think about like, how old are you now? And where were you along, you know, your female reproductive like life stage 30 years ago? You know, were you having children? Was it just after you had children, if you've got children? Was there a particular stress in your life? Was there another diagnosis of sorts? You know, and really feel into that and think about, well, what was it back then? And then since then, have symptoms improved? Have symptoms, or have they stayed the same? Or have they gotten worse? Or have new symptoms come along the way? Because every single sign and symptom actually, a sign is from a diagnostic test. A symptom is something that only you can know, because it's you and your body and what you're feeling. So, or seeing, or hearing, or smelling. So, where 30 years ago, as an example, with Sophia, you know, where along the way have other symptoms started to show up? Because that's really crucial information, because that's going to help to understand what other body system has been recruited or been affected. Or, you know, and then looking at the chicken egg scenario within that scenario as well. 8 years ago, Leanne. Yeah, I'd love to hear it. If you're coming in on the replay, yeah, certainly do a hashtag replay. And yeah, let me know how long you've had signs and symptoms of your thyroid issue. Okay, let's get back into it. Okay, so weight metabolism. There are so many other areas to consider, like blood sugar stabilization. If you've got enough B vitamins to help your blood sugar do its job, what's going on with your insulin? Do you have some insulin resistance, which may not have been diagnosed? No, I'm diagnosing insulin resistance more often than not these days, and it often coincides with a thyroid issue. Yeah. So this is really, really important, because, you know, we've got minerals that help the blood glucose get to where it wants to go. We know that high cortisol and stress actually pushes up blood glucose. So if you've been stressed forever and a day, well, you know, you might have a blood sugar dysregulation. And this is absolutely linked to thyroid. You know, not everyone will have a thyroid condition. However, you may be feeling the effects of insulin resistance, which is fatigue. You know, there could be some, massive crashes as well. And, just really feeling awful in your body, which can mirror thyroid. And there may be a thyroid condition, but we may need to really work at that area in your body of stabilizing blood sugar, which is going to help the thyroid rebalance itself to a degree. So, especially if there's minerals that are insufficient, I don't know, like alpha lipoic acid, magnesium, as two examples in inositol. Not everyone's going to have a blood sugar imbalance. However, thyroid is often coupled by many different body systems. And for some people, it might be the metabolic system or, blood sugar metabolism. For others, it's more, like linked in with the digestive system. For others, it's more like reproductive hormones. For example, your symptoms may have worsened with perimenopause or postmenopausally because of the fluctuations of the estrogen and the progesterone. You might be, if you've got adrenal fatigue, you may well be bottoming out in your testosterone and your DHEA. So that could be one of the reasons why you've got low energy. Okay. So sometimes we need to look at the other systems and really bring some harmony and happiness to those, in addition to, or instead of, to begin with, looking at the thyroid. Because if we just looked at the thyroid, honestly, you've got a thyroid mineral supplement. You might be on some medication, you cut out gluten and dairy and everything should be hunky-dory, right? Wrong. Otherwise there wouldn't be so many people screaming out for help, wondering what the heck is going on in their body. It's not that simple. It is a very, very complex situation. And the reason why there are so many signs and symptoms is because the thyroid hormone innervates every single organ in the body, every single cell in the body. So that's why, you can be really feeling the effects on a symptomatic level with a thyroid condition. And that's whether it's hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism, or even if you're taking the medication. Because if you're taking the medication, that's putting but you're not doing any other things. You may be doing a lot of things, but there may be some areas that you're unaware of. So, if you're unaware of it, because the signs and symptoms overlap, let's face it, like how many other situations also have a symptom of exhaustion and fatigue or anxiety. So this is why if we're only looking at the thyroid, it's just putting a lot of emphasis on that pill, on that medication, on that supplement, on that dietary protocol. It's putting a lot of pressure if we're only isolating that and not looking at the big picture. Because the big picture is actually where it's at. Yeah. I've often said, like, the long way is the short way. I still believe that in my heart. There's no shortcuts to health. There never will be. If you ever see anything in any level of marketing that offers a shortcut, be suspicious. Be very suspicious. Okay, so that's just the one big advice that I can give you. Okay, so let's get on with it. So we've got digestion and gut health. So low stomach acid, it could be low zinc, may not be. Could be low vitamin B1. How would you know if you didn't have a clear understanding of what's going on in your body? Sluggish bile flow, it could be that you have, like a high inflammatory marker, which is actually calling for more digestive enzyme support in an area of your digestive system, such as the pancreatic function. There could be poor microbiome health that's affecting nutrient absorption and causing inflammation into the mucous membrane. And that could be, and most likely is, tipping into or causing the autoimmunity aspect of your thyroid condition. It's often linked to gut. I'm actually yet to find, every single person I've worked with, there's some link to gut. It may not be the only root cause. However, every single person, 100% of clients that I've worked with, there is something going on in the gut when there's thyroid autoimmunity, particularly when there's thyroid autoimmunity. So if we haven't, if you're here listening to this, you're thinking, oh, wow, not really done any testing on my gut function. I'm really just working on symptoms. I wouldn't really know if I've got parasites or imbalanced gut bacteria or pro-inflammatory gut bacteria or gut bacteria that predisposes autoimmune conditions or gut bacteria that actually inhibits lots of other things or may cause anxiety. There's so many different types of imbalances that can occur within the phyla, within the family phylas of bacteria. And then there could be a candida overgrowth or yeast overgrowth, which is definitely a root cause. So is Klebsiella, so is Citrobacter. There's a lot of different root causes, and a root cause in one isn't going to be the same as a root cause for another person with what's going on with the gut. It's really interesting, even some parasites actually live very happy in some people, but in other people, they create havoc. I find it so interesting. And this is an area of research that hasn't been unfolded yet. It's still developing. And I find it super interesting why that parasite, like Blastocystis hominis, can be very, very happy in the home of one person's gut, but be really causing a lot of problems in another person. I find that super interesting. So let me know if you had a gut function test. Just type gut function if you've had a gut function test. I'd love to know, because there are so many different ones out there. And just seeing if there's any more comments here. There's so many symptoms out there, and different gut function tests. There's and I just love to know which one you've used. Here at the Thyroid Naturopath, we use the gold level, like the best one that I'm aware of in Australia. It's the very best one that I'm aware of, and it just gives us so much information. And yeah, I really love it. Fantastic. Yeah, beautiful. Shell, Sue, and Leanne. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I just find it so it's second to none. So if you haven't and you're just curious, you could just type curious, and we can have a chat. I'm not saying that you need to go ahead and do a gut function test. Absolutely not saying that at all, but I can just be more specific and break it down based on your signs and symptoms, just to see whether that's something that resonates with you, that you would like to consider on your healing path and your healing journey. All right, so hormonal imbalances. So estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol, key hormones that can be completely topsy-turvy depending on what's going on with you, and really mirroring thyroid issues. So what do? Do we ignore the perimenopause and go and just keep dabbling in thyroid? Absolutely not. We need to support what's going on. And why is the perimenopause turbulent? Ideally, it should be a very smooth transition, not a turbulent cyclone. Should be very, very smooth. And if you're going through perimenopause, I'd love to know. Let me know if you're going through perimenopause. Just write perimenopause. And certainly, if you are postmenopausal and you think back and you think, yeah, I had a turbulent time, or your perimenopause was like a cyclone, you know, just type cyclone. It's just really I just love to hear from you ladies in particular, like who has really suffered during that time, because I find that when I'm working with people, if we know that that's actually what's happened in the past, it just gives so many clues. And sometimes what I find it super interesting when it shows up, with what shows up in the gut function test, and I think, oh, okay, so this enzyme actually would have been recycling your estrogen when it was high, which actually culminated your signs and symptoms back then. So, you know, we don't know until we know. And then it's like, sometimes you can go, oh, actually, if I had have known this back then, I could have really got a handle on my thyroid by working through stabilizing this transition so that my thyroid is able to have the support it needs to recalibrate. Alrighty. Cyclone. Oh, wow, Sue, I didn't know. Yeah. Okay. It's good when we know, right? Okay, so here are the key takeaways. So when we're thinking about our signs and symptoms with thyroid, we're not just addressing the thyroid. We're not just looking at the thyroid panel, or whether there's autoantibodies or whether there's reverse T3. Yes, we're looking at them, and that's giving us clues of where we need to work at the treatment plan level, at the, you know, where we need to work on the foundation in terms of the foundational layers, you know, whether it's stress, whether it's gut health, whether it's the hormonal balance as examples. You know, what else is going on? You know, I've just listed these are the main areas, but that's not the only areas. You know, what else is going on? Is there an environmental toxin? Is there a heavy metal? So all of these situations can be mirroring your signs and symptoms of thyroid, low thyroid or abnormal thyroid, high thyroid, whatever it is that's going on for you. So why your symptoms matter more than just your test results? Because your symptoms and the severity of your symptoms for you, like, who am I to judge whether your anxiety is bad or not? This is for you to actually really drill down and feel into the impact it has on your life and what it is like now compared to what it has been like in the past. All of these symptoms give such valuable information about what's going on with your thyroid and other systems, other body systems. Right? So, you know, if you've gone to the doctor, most people on medication, well, everybody on medication has gone to the doctor because they're the prescribing facilitator of that. So if you go to the doctor and you're not really being listened to, and based on your signs and symptoms, your medication is being tweaked, but there's not really been any other thing implemented, you know, I'd love to know, is this the case for you? Because you're being mismanaged. There's no other way to look at it. You as a human being and your situation that's going on for you with your symptoms, your fatigue, your flatline fatigue, your exhaustion, your overwhelm, your anxiety, your bloatedness and gut dysfunction. You know, if you're not being listened to and all they're doing is tweaking the medication, well, it's most likely why you're here listening to this live training, I would say. But we've got to get to the bottom of it. It's not just about taking supplements. It's not just about going gluten-free and dairy-free. And I pull those two out because that's what I see often. And whilst it may be important to a degree, it may be of greater importance in some people and of lesser importance for somebody else. And why is this so? Because there's no one size fits all. You could be going dairy free, and it's not the big contender. It's not the big thing to be looking at right now. There could be something else. And it might be that you don't have any good levels of lactobacilli or bifidobacteria, which dairy provides. Not telling you all to go on dairy, if you're off dairy. I'm just using that as an example. And if you've had a gut function test, go to the, what's the word? The good bacteria. It's not called good bacteria. Beneficial. Sorry, go to the beneficial bacteria section and have a look. What's your species like of your bifidobacteria and your lactobacilli? There's generally several species within those categories because they are the phyla, they are the families. And have a look. Because this is what helps with your nutrient absorption. This is what helps with your immune system. This is what helps with the mucous membrane and to help support your gut integrity. Because if those numbers are low or not there, but then we need to look at that. And it's not necessarily taking probiotics either, because probiotics, they kind of work, they're very helpful, but they don't just kind of like plant little seeds and produce other bacteria. They don't inoculate. They're transitory. So they go through and they take a load off while your body starts to reestablish its own bacterial blueprint. So that's what probiotics do. So it's not a be all or end all. It's actually like for a period of time so that your body can actually have a leg up, so to speak, to actually get itself organized. All right. Anyway, I just wanted to drill down that. That's just one little scenario of where there's no one size fits all, but there are so many more scenarios like that, which is why it's so important to look at every single symptom that you have that leads, because that symptom leads down a rabbit hole and opens a Pandora's box, which is great because information is fantastic. When you've got information and body signaling and understanding what's going on in those deeper layers, and then you marry that with some functional testing to be more specific about what's actually going on, that's where we can have a focused and targeted treatment plan. All right. Okay. So having the self-awareness is empowerment. So you are empowered by your self-awareness, having self-awareness. So understanding why you've got certain signs and symptoms. And yes, it's true. Some signs and symptoms are there because they are side effects of medications, or like you might be on a few different things. You may not be either, but there could be some side effects of even some foods that you're having. Like, for example, histamine reactions in certain foods. If you're sensitive to histamine, if you don't have a good DAO enzyme breakdown for histamine, there's lots of different scenarios. I'd be here all night if I went through them all. So it's really good to just drill down into what's actually going on for you, follow the symptoms down, and then seek your empowerment through your self-awareness so that then you can look at making the fundamental lifestyle and dietary changes that are aligned to you and the symptoms that you're experiencing so that you can actually bring the balance back into your body for your health and wellness and your health abundance. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're after. You can have any label, hypo, Hashimoto's. Damn it, label. Who cares? I just want to feel better. I just want to feel better. So this is why symptoms are so much more important than a pathology reading. So, of course, we look at the pathology, but we know that that's there because the symptoms have been there for so much longer than the pathology. And the pathology can be masked by a doubling of medication, and really the symptoms haven't improved. So if that's you, just type symptom improvement. If you're wanting symptom improvement, if you've had these signs and symptoms, you may be on medication, you may be on supplements, you might be on different protocols, you might have tried different protocols like Paleolithic diet or gluten-free, dairy-free, whatever, there's so many. So if you've been dabbling and your symptoms still haven't resolved, you may have gotten a little bit better, but you may not be where you want to be. Just type symptom improvement. Alrighty. So here's what we can do next. So if tonight's session resonates with you, if you're feeling that actually you want to get to the bottom of what's going on and you really want to, you know that you've got these signs and symptoms and you're starting now to think that maybe they're related, and you're at that point in time that you're ready to do something about it and you're ready to invest in your health, to work, with someone like myself, with my team and myself across 4 months to really get to the bottom of what's going on, to find the root cause, to improve your symptoms, to finally have a focused and targeted treatment plan that makes sense, because there's a specific reason for every single element of that treatment plan, with how that relates to you and your condition and your symptom picture, with your thyroid, if it's adrenals, if it's perimenopause or postmenopausal, if it's gut dysfunction, distress, symptoms of that, and you're just thinking now, okay, I've had enough and I'm ready to get to the bottom of what's going on. Just type call. And what's going to happen is either myself or Leanne or Shell is going to privately message you and set up a call. And we're going to get on the phone and have a chat. You and me, we're going to have a chat. And I'm going to find out more about what's going on for you. And then if I feel in my heart that I can help you, then we can actually take that next step and map out a plan, which is also complementary. So the call is complementary, the plan is complementary. And then you can make the decision whether this is really for you or not. But this is what I do. I don't have a day job. This is my day job. This is what I do. This is my passion. This is my purpose. This is what I've been doing for 7 years. This is what I've been doing in this specific area, focused for 3.5 years. And I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 20 years. My very first modality, which was aromatherapy, was way back in 2005. So, yeah, so 20 years. Yeah, 20 years this year. So, I feel like, if you feel like, yep, this is worth a chat, it sounds like this resonates and it feels like Megan's my girl, Megan's there with me. And, she's going to do everything she can do to help me. And, even if you're curious, just type call and we can just do that. We can have a call. There's no gimmicks, no strings. This is what I do. I offer this free space for education, training, and for empowerment, and for you to hopefully take away some golden nuggets. And on that, I'd love to hear, what golden nugget have you taken away from tonight's live training? If it's just like a little penny drop moment, that's something that I've said that's gone and you've gone, aha, I never thought about that before. Just type it in the comments. I'd love to know. And I'd also love to explain to you that I have the next 2 live trainings already lined up because I'm super excited at the moment, because right now I have a fire in my belly because I am ready to break open and bust some myths, because there's been a lot of chit chat going on in a lot of spaces for way too long. And I am a myth buster. So if you're new to this group or you've just come in, look out. Over the next couple of days, we're going to have these live trainings up and you'll be able to see what they're all about. So fantastic. We've got Eltong, beautiful. We will reach out to you. Leanne, yes, of course. And Shell, yes, of course. Beautiful. So, you know, if you're watching the replay and anything in here has resonated, and you know, you're curious what your plan would look like. You know, what's a plan for you look like? What does your plan look like? I'm telling you, it's going to be completely different to somebody else's. And I've just realized I have not spoken about the case study. I'm going to talk about that right now. A beautiful client of mine, let's call her Elsie. Elsie has come into my life and with symptoms of thyroid, fatigue, exhaustion, weight gain, copious weight gain, brain fog, right? Hallmark symptoms of thyroid, okay? So Elsie has come in and, you know, we've done a deep dive, you know, investigation just to go down her through, you know, looking at her main signs and symptoms and going down the rabbit holes of her main signs and symptoms. And through that, we decided upon some functional testing to get some black and white answers that would actually give us more specific details on each of those deep dive rabbit holes on those signs and symptoms. And what did we find? Well, the thyroid panel was actually working quite well. In fact, T4 and T3 were working beautifully. Reverse T3 wasn't too bad. Autoantibodies were up, not sky high, a little bit up though, enough to red flag and cause it there's some sort of inflammation going on. And then what else did we find? Well, we found quite a lot of disharmony in the gut, a lot of inflammation, a lot of enzymes that are out of balance, and a lot of, let's just say, root cause to thyroid imbalanced bacteria. So has this person's thyroid bottomed out yet? No, no. However, would it in, say, a few years' time without any treatment plan in place? Well, that's the trajectory. That would be the way that it would be heading right now if there was nothing put into place. But what have we got now? We've got information. And with that information comes a focused and targeted and scientifically proven, not always, but where there is the science to back it up. Some of it's anecdotal evidence. Some of it's, okay, we know enough about this to help that. So let's go with this and we'll tweak as we go. And this person now has the light at the end of the tunnel because we've got a plan in place. So had this person just gone to the doctor and just had a blood test, they would have just tested TSH, T4 if you're lucky, and this person would have been told, you're fine, the thyroid's fine. But it's far from fine because it takes a while for pathology to catch up to what's happening on a cellular level. And there's gut inflammation at a very high level, which means thyroid autoimmunity is around the corner. And in fact, it's already begun because one of the thyroid autoantibodies is up. And then there's other issues going on a blood sugar dysregulation level as well. So we're working via the signs and symptoms through this, we're going down the rabbit hole of the signs and symptoms, and we're working in the system which correlates with those signs and symptoms, as opposed to just dabbling in thyroid world. Because if we just dabble in thyroid world, we're not actually going to be putting the pieces together of what's going on that's pulling the thyroid, and it's not actually pulling it at the moment anyway. And we're waiting on another piece of information to come back, which is going to give me a really clear understanding of minerals, and it's going to give me a clear understanding of, you know, if we do need some, you know, treatment plan in place to help support, you know, other systems in the body. So we're just waiting on that to come back at the moment, but we've already got a plan in place. So yeah, this is just a classic example, and I just wanted to bring this as an example today because, you know, you could have symptoms of thyroid, but it's not your thyroid, and you could be told, okay, go home, you know, it's not your thyroid. However, it's not, it's heading that way. You know, and this is what I call the golden opportunity, because you're nipping it in the bud. You're literally getting to the bottom of it before it's even started to unfold. So there's that scenario as well. So there's that scenario, and then there's the other scenario where it's been diagnosed and it's been going on for 10, 20, 30 years. There's still things we can do to avoid, you know, the hallmark of signs and symptoms, and essentially get to the bottom of why you're feeling so unwell. So again, my invitation to you is to book a call, and if I feel that I can help you, we can map out that plan. Sophia says different gut tests. Yeah, I'd love to know what type of gut test. Yeah, there's so many different ones. Yeah, just drop it in the comments, Sophia. I don't know whether you mean that, you know, you've done a gut test, or, you know, you'd like to do a different one. Yeah, just let me know. And Sue says links with perimenopause and my gut and adrenal issues. Yeah, exactly right. So, you know, so that's where we look. You know, we look at these underlying foundational layers, which is so important to help establish cohesion in our thyroid. Okay, that's it from me, and I'd love to hear from you. If you're feeling, you know, curious, or you're wanting to get to the bottom of it, or you're ready to invest any of those scenarios, or you'd like to just have a chat about what's going on for you to get an inkling of what a plan would look like for you specifically, type call and we'll get that happening. Okay, that's it from me. Have a beautiful evening. And if you're on the eastern coast of Australia, buckle down. I think we're in for a ride over the next 24, 48 hours. All right, that's it from me. Bye for now.